Okay, so good evening and welcome to the Centre for Computing History. If it's your first time, we hope to see you again. We hope you enjoy it and come back to future events. If you're a regular and have seen some of these guys before or similar events, we're going to do something a little bit different than normal because I've chaired a few panels with these guys now and I'm getting a bit bored of the same old answers, to be honest.
I'm getting bored of the same fucking questions.
Thank you very much.
And that wasn't even scripted.
I know. And if you are irregular, there's bran flakes outside in bed.
I'll pitch them, you knock them out of the ballpark, Simon. So when the main event's over, you can hang around the museum. The museum's open till late when we get finished, and you can meet anyone you've not met so far, get things signed, play some of the wonderful ocean games that they're responsible for, and some of the bad ones.
That I'm responsible for.
Please try not to keep them too late, though, because we promised them beer and curry later. So, and as you can see, at least one of them needs the beauty sleep. I'm not mentioning any names. So, as you know, these three guys were the brains and the brawn of Ocean Software, some of it anyway, and they're responsible for many of the games that we know and love, some of the ones we know and don't necessarily love. But Ocean, of course, founded in 1984, ran through the 80s, most of the 90s, and brought us many games, Daley Thompson's Decathlon, Chase HQ, Highlander, several other classics. We've heard Highlander mentioned several times today. So these three are some of the longest-serving Ocean employees, so please give us a warm welcome for Mr. Simon Butler, Stephen Thompson, and Mark Jones Jr.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming, Simon.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, applaud yourselves as well. So, as I mentioned, the format is going to be slightly different tonight. That's the spoiler. It's going to be a Room 101 format. So, for those who don't know, Room 101, basically, each of our three guests has been racking the brains thinking of something they've either got a dislike for, maybe a hatred for, maybe even a morbid fear of. And we'll go through 3 rounds. In each round, they'll pick one item, and the audience will then get to vote on which item they think should go into Room 101. So before we get into that, though, we need to know why we're all sat here missing the Eurovision Song Contest.
Oh,
so,
what? It's tonight?
So if you could try and sell yourselves and tell us who you are, why you're here, what you did at Ocean, and any other information you'd like to share at the top.
My name's Mark. I started at Ocean in February '87. I'd left school in the summer of '86 and worked in the computer game shop. Since '84, I'd had a Spectrum, and as well as playing games after school, I started messing around with graphics. Started off doing rudimentary black and white efforts, and then dabbling with colour, and then while I was working at the computer shop, I used to load my stuff up, and I was encouraged to try and get a job by my boss. So I did, not thinking anything of it. I ended up with an interview at Ocean and an interview at Elite. I didn't like where Elite was. It was like above a Chinese takeaway. And it was a horrible day. The weather was bad, and it just didn't. So I didn't end up going there. But I went up to Ocean in January '87 with my mum. Went on a train. I'd never been out of Northampton on my own. So, I mean, you wouldn't do that nowadays, but I don't know. But I went with my mum to the interview, got the job, and I started there in February '87, and stayed for a few years.
Hi, I'm Steve. I originally sort of got into graphics just as I got a Commodore 64 one Christmas many, many years ago, and kind of absolutely loved, I've always loved pixel art. I was kind of drawn to arcade machines when I was a kid. And I remember always saying to my dad, I can do better than that, I can do better than that, and like always kind of, I just naturally got into it. I ended up going to art college and wanted to go through my art career and do my BA and MA and kind of be a fine artist and everything. And I ended up getting my job at Ocean the same week as I got my acceptance letter from Liverpool Polytechnic. So it was either Do I become a fine artist? Do I want to work on video games? Yes. So the rest is history kind of thing. So I ended up sort of getting a job there, and rest is kind of history. I'm still in the industry now, insanely still in the industry. How many years is it now? 30, oh God, it feels like 27 years I've been sort of making games and kind of like worked my way right the way through.
29 years.
29 years, oh my God. 29 years I've been making games. So yeah, it's, they were the glory days, they really were. I absolutely lovely meeting up with these guys again and reminiscing because they were brilliant. And I can understand why you guys kind of love the retro games because there's a little something about that. There's a little bit of magic in there, isn't there? Like it's kind
I'll
of...
touch on that then.
Yeah, you probably will. Yeah, so yeah, that's me basically in a nutshell.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm Simon, and I did go to Liverpool Polytechnic,
Did you?
and I did get my BA, and it served me no good purpose whatsoever. But it helped me run up a large beer bill over 3 years that took me even longer to pay off. At the end of that, I went down to London to enter into advertising. My career move into games has been published many times and spoken about many times on many of these forums. And I'd done one job for Imagine Software just to pay some of my barbells. Thinking that was it, I moved down to London, ran into the 1980s, so work was hard to find in any field. But I was called back to Liverpool by a friend, Steve Kane. I'd frequented Imagine. I used to hang around Imagine's office all the time while they were still afloat. I was there around about the time that everything went horribly pear-shaped and the repo men came in. I never for one instant thought that I'd get into the games industry. I didn't even know prior to doing my first job that such a thing existed, even though I loved arcade games. I came back to Liverpool to fill in some time before I went back down to London. I joined Denton Designs, which was the phoenix that rose from the very, very smelly ashes of Imagine Software. And I'm still waiting to go back to London. And I'm still in the industry 33 years later. And I like saying this one. And over 300 titles later, I've worked on more games than any other artist in the world. And the vast majority of them are absolute turds. I mean, they really are. I mean, we're in single figures, the ones that I'll put my hands up to all of them, but the ones that I'm proud of, the ones that I'll say, I worked on that. I mean, one of the turds is right there behind you, it's Highlander. And round the corner there, behind the wall of cassettes, you've got Adam's Family on the SNES. And that's possibly the greatest time I had ever in the industry in 33 years. And I'd like to think I've got many years left, not another 33, but I'm in no hurry to leave the industry just yet.
Okay, so we'll hear some more stories and talk about the industry and your days at OceanNet. So let's get into room 101 then. And at the top of round one is going to be Simon with his first pick, which is Blinkered Geeks, as you can see.
Blinkered Geeks. Oh,
These are the type of people who cling on to their old games and only play their old games and love their old games.
I have nothing really against that, providing...
Just to interrupt, should I read the note that you sent me in the message?
Yeah,
it said people who only play Dr. Scrope's Fantastic Journey of Wonderment and some such bollocks.
I haven't got that one.
That's
NTSC
my microphone's broken. Yeah, that does sound like something I'd say. Okay, an analogy. If you had a friend, housemate, life partner, whatever, or just someone at work, and you saw them doing a crossword puzzle every day in pencil, and then rubbing it out and putting it in their pocket and doing the same one again the next day. And then 5 years later, they're still doing that same crossword puzzle. That's how I see these people who, oh, tonight I'm going to spark up the apricot, and I'm going to play Dr. Scroat's Amazing Adventure in Bollocksland or whatever it's called. These games have no surprises left. You know what's coming. You know every beat of the game. You know every pattern of every bad guy. You know the ending if you have beaten it. There are a host of indie games out there, retro-based, a wealth of them, and I play them religiously. And I know full well that these new indie teams would not exist without the history that we laid down before us. But these guys need your support as much or more so than the games from 33 years ago. You're not going to get anything new. It's like having chips every day of your life. It's like filling in that crossword puzzle and rubbing it out every day. 7 across, 3 letters, not a dog, household pet. It's going to be cat every single time. It really is, unless you've got a pig.
Could be a rat.
But, yeah.
Could be a rat or
well, in that case, I shall shoot down your argument later on. No, but this is it. I do. I mean, I'm thankful to all of the fans. I really am. I can't thank the retro scene enough for the attention that they've shown us nerd-wells over the last few years. And I can't express my admiration and thanks again for the love you have for our games, although it beggars belief with some of the titles, you know, that I've worked on. People say, oh, I really like that. And I'm thinking, you do? For the love of God, why? But there are teams out there who need your support. And the blinkered geeks, and I say, have you played? Oh, no, I won't. Have you played this on Steam? No, I won't. And I think it was in my last podcast or what, and I said, I've just got no time for them. I really haven't. You know, if you come and you say, oh, I've got one of your games, can you sign it? Yeah. But I'm not going to turn around and say, only if you've played Hyperlight Drifter on Steam. You know, there's not a proviso. I'll sign your games, but I do think that the retro crowd need to just open the blinkers just a little bit and let some more light in.
Okay, up next then is Stephen's pick, which is Lenslock protection. Do you want to open it? Show the good people a Lenslock protection system.
No, Lenslock. Yeah. Picture the scene. A phone call from my auntie Christmas morning. I can't get his game to work. And my cousin Tony had got a Spectrum for Christmas with a copy. I think it was I don't even remember what the game was because he never loaded it because it was rubbish. But yeah, I spent the best part of Christmas Day putting this against the screen and trying to get the 2 characters up. And could I do it? I couldn't. So whoever invented this was some kind of sadist because and it's the first time I've actually touched one. This one was
Is this bordering on morbid fear?
Yeah, it's horrible. It's like
Well, you've got it the wrong way round for a start.
Oh, have I? Was that the problem? Yeah. Oh, right, okay. Yeah. So yeah, it was hell. But you informed me that some games came out with the wrong Lenslock.
Yeah. So Lenslock protection was used on the Atari 8-bits, the C64, the Spectrum, the MSX, and the Amstrad.
Yeah.
And some of them were renowned for shipping the wrong Lenslock with the wrong game. So
I
there is no way you're going to get that game loaded.
I absolutely detest.
And I was informed today some of the games made you do it several times, not just to load it. I think it was Elite, the example I was given.
Yeah.
When you wanted to save your game, you had
The
to use it
shittest,
again.
pardon my French, the shittest idea ever to come out. No wonder the pirates kind of went like myself.
And there was also a hardware problem with it as well. Using either a very small or very large screen, you had to calibrate the screen, and sometimes the Lenslock just purely wouldn't work with whatever screen.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was a nightmare. Utter nightmare. Like Christmas Day ruined, and like my cousin crying his eyes out because it was the only game he got as well. So he got the Spectrum, It was
Oops.
like, yeah, not good. Not a good day.
Cousin
So, yeah,
Stephen should have bought him another game.
I should have done, yeah. I should have done. So, yeah, that's please condemn this to
That's a heartfelt plea, that.
hell, please, for God's sake.
There. And finally in this round, oops, the set's falling apart, is Mark's pick of modern game intros. Games that make you play through a tutorial rather than telling you how to play the game straight off and letting you just get on with it.
It's just put me off. I go, right, I've got an hour, right, I'll have a go at this game. And then 45 minutes in, I'm still learning how to open the door. Just give me a book of instructions, right? What I do, if I've got a book of instructions, I'll sit down and I'll play the game, and if I get stuck, then I'll read the instructions. But with these things, I remember trying to Ghostbusters on the Wii. I'm a big Ghostbusters, the first film. Big fan of Ghostbusters, so I thought I'll try Ghostbusters on the Wii. I just got bored of playing it because it was just like, right, this is how you swing your thing. I've been playing it for 45 minutes and I haven't done anything. So that was it just puts me off. Then I end up just throwing the thing out the window. So put instruction books back in the games, please, and let us decide if we need to work out how to wave this all around.
I agree.
And we were talking, I think it was Stephen and I earlier about, might have been Simon as well, game manuals just not being a thing anymore. Even a company as big as Nintendo making you download a manual for a game you've bought. It's ridiculous. So this is now where you get to vote on which of the three picks you've heard goes into Room 101. Only one of them's going in from this round. Rude. Well, unless it's yours. So, are we putting into Room 101 Blinkered Geeks, a Lenslock, or modern game intros? So, this is where somebody has to count.
Hands up for Blinkered Geeks.
Exactly. Hands up for Blinkered Geeks.
Oh, Gordon Bennett.
6 for Blinkered Geeks, okay?
The thing
Hands
is,
down.
you're presuming that these people have finished these games. I still have never finished Manic Miner on the Spectrum. So, I've only finished Saberwolf, and that was through cheating on Rare Replay with the rewind, and Bugaboo. I got out of the cavern in
Well,
Bugaboo. I
that's
haven't
probably
finished
why
any of these
I
games.
shouldn't
So
go
I'll
back.
probably still be playing Avalon on the Spectrum in 10 years' time, because it's too hard.
There you go, it's too hard, don't play it.
I've got that out now.
I've only completed. Do you guys remember a game called Spellbound?
Yes.
With the amazing Rob Hubbard soundtrack. Oh, I love that game, and I completed that loads, and I was a blinker geek on that one. I loved it. Loved that
Well,
game.
yeah, at the time, but to go back 20 years
Oh,
later...
now I want to play it again.
Really?
Tonight.
Oh,
I'm
God.
going home. Tonight I'm going home.
Knockered.
And I'm going to play it
Hold
again.
on, where's me crossword
again.
puzzle and pencil?
The music was amazing, everything. It was brilliant. And it was just like, fantastic game.
Yeah.
Okay, hands up then if you want to put in Lenslock copy protection. Oh, my word.
That's not a bad one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 I'm counting. Are we in agreement? I think 15. And finally, hands down, and anyone who wants to put in modern game intros.
Oh, there you
we
go.
go. Modern game intros has done it. I'm under instruction to drop these in gently so we don't break them. The problem with that is we've got a brick in there for later.
Oh, yeah.
So
You did, you
into
won.
Room 101 goes modern
you've been
game
given a
intros.
microphone. Hello there, pop pickers.
So, round 2 then. We will start with, I think it is Stephen to go first. And if you look at the screen at your nemesis, Stephen.
Oh, God. Again, I think this is the same day. I think this is a Christmas Day thing as well, trying to get that one game to work.
We've got 2 examples.
That's completely put me off. Spectrums. Like, I think this is all tied in with that same horrific Christmas Day.
Horrific.
Yeah, oh no.
The dead flesh.
It's just, I mean, come on, guys, really?
He's a 64 boy.
I don't get it at all. Really don't. I mean, I can, yeah.
It's British.
It's
ours.
Sorry, I'm going to offend everybody here, aren't I? But yeah, I mean, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I just don't get the. I mean, yeah, they got a bit better with it, but really, oh my God, bad crowd. Yeah, so yeah, I really don't.
You're dissing my whole. I can just touch them
Yeah,
keys, and I'm 13.
I really just don't. I really just don't get it at
Actually,
all.
no, you're not.
So yeah, I mean, I haven't got much more to say about it really.
For me, they fail on two levels. Not only the spongy unresponsiveness of them, but the amount of functions you've got on each one. You've got to be ambidextrous to use it.
And any photos of me holding one of these have got to be destroyed. And I will be checking on the internet because you will never ever see me hold
We'll
one of these
pixelate
again.
the bit in the video before we put it
And
out.
I haven't seen a C64 in the building today.
You haven't looked well. You haven't looked. They're over there.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah,
You mean the C64 with the
see,
proper keyboard?
they're not as distinctive.
Spectrum bias building, I mean. It's not good. Not happy about that.
They're not as visually distinctive.
No, it's not. You've seen all the BBCs
So, yeah.
upstairs.
I know.
Okay? So yeah, that's me. That's my...
Okay, next up then is Mark with video game deaths that put you too far back when you happen to die.
Oh yeah, like for instance, like I'm rubbish at games. I can't finish them. I bought Banjo-Kazooie, right, for instance, in 1997, whenever it came out. I still haven't got to level 3. And I thought, right, I've got an EverDrive for my N64 now. So I thought, right, I'm going to play my way through Banjo-Kazooie and get me 49.95's worth, wherever much I paid for it back then. I still can't get off level 2 now because I have to get 100 notes. So the game save only saves, it remembers everything but how many notes you finished, how many notes you've got. And then when you die, you have to start again collecting the notes. So I get to 98 notes each time. Then I'm still searching for the other 2. And then I die, and then I've got to start all over again and do what I've just been spending the last 45 minutes doing again. So
there you go. Have you never heard of YouTube? And
I don't want
checking
to
a wall?
see it, I want to do it.
I just thought I'd block you now.
Yeah. So that's, you know...
When some of the levels
games-
bugged on that as well?
They were.
When some
I
of
haven't
the
got far
notes
enough.
like hidden.
It's been out for 20 years.
Oh, right.
So that's it, you know,
I
games
finished-
that
I
put
finished it, I loved
Ghosts
it.
and Goblins as well, things like that.
Oh,
that
Ghosts
put
and
you back.
Goblins.
Yeah.
Put
And
you
that's
back
when
so
you're dying
far.
a lot.
When I die, I want to carry on where I died.
Most unforgiving game ever.
Yeah, but there's
Does
a
my
reason.
head in.
There's a reason behind Ghosts and Goblins is because it's originally Oriental, isn't it? And they love games that are just hellishly hard. I mean, I suppose the most current example is the Dark Souls series. You know, every time you die, your weapon degrades. And my nephew, by the time he reached the boss at the end of the game, had no weapon. He died so many times. And so what the hell are you supposed to do?
Let's use a retro example and be blinkered geeks. Super Mario Brothers 2, where Japan got the different game that was much harder. And they thought it was too hard for America, so they got...
Yeah, but you're also talking about a nation who they thought the Sound of Music was too long and they took all the songs out.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's very true.
I'm going to
Yeah.
Wikipedia that later.
Yeah, it is
Can't
true.
be much of it left then.
Well, it was just a family being chased by Nazis.
Have you seen the Big Bang Theory episode where they talk about Indiana Jones?
I've seen every one.
Amy Farrah Fowler says to Sheldon, Indiana Jones didn't need to be in the film. And he said, well, what do you mean? He's a central character. She said, no. Even if he wasn't in the film, the Germans would have still found the Ark, still taken it to Berlin and still opened it.
Yeah.
He's irrelevant.
So there you go. Totally irrelevant. So basically it was the Crystal Skull many years before. So there you go. It was a pointless film.
Okay, let's get a soapbox now, Simon, because
Oh God, what
your
was my
pick in this round is
Was it? Oh, Jesus.
free-to-play games, and we've got a wonderful
Browser
iPad
games.
for you.
Yeah, browser games. Well, they probably, I don't know whether anyone played any of these like point and sort of click and wait. I call them click and wait or buy, build, expand. The last 10 years or so I've spent out in Germany, and they love this shit. I mean, they just do, and it is absolute fucking crap. Oh, it's not even a game. I've argued extensively with people, you know, and they're really weird out there. All these Germans. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love them, and I'd like to end my days there. But they're as mad as a box full of weasels. And you know, they say, "Oh, we are working on this wonderful new game. You have a farm." And you know, what do you do on this farm? You get a virtual chicken. You can have a chicken or a pig. And what can you? Oh, what does that allow you to do? Allow you to do? No, you just get the chicken or the pig. and then You can have a horse on the same day as the pig. No, you click on the horse and you must wait until maybe tomorrow or today. Or you can pay with your credit card and get your ticket or your horse right now. And so that's all it's about. It's like it's Pavlov's dog, and it's just a money-making thing, and it drives me berserk. And I was working at one of these companies, and they said, "Well, what should we do, Sam?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, and I'm not going to name the company, but it's got the word game in the title, and good. And so you can put it one way or the other and work out what studio it was. I've given you all 3 words in the name. And they said, "So what do you think we should do?" I said, "Well, how's about you make a game?" I said, "You could do such and such and all this. How do you monetize it?"
Oh dear.
And I said, "You sell it." And they said, "And the people then do what?" I said, "They play it and like it, or not, depending on the game." And they just want something that is going to exist forever on the internet, and people are just going to keep throwing money at it, and it's not a game. And they drive me, as I say, they put my fucking teeth on edge. Pardon to the young man in the audience there. And Max over there in the corner. Don't worry, I'm dragging you up later, Max. And they just do, and they're everywhere. And I've tried to crack the German market, and I've tried to get back there, but I just can't get this through this impenetrable wall of browser shit. And so that's my choice for...
But it's not just browser games. I know my daughter plays Candy Crush on her phone.
Same thing.
And I'll say to her, "You're playing Candy Crush?" "No, I can't play that for 3 days now." I'm like, what?
Yeah, well, you see, what they don't understand, my wife, and she won't believe it, they're actually, there's probably, are there any coders, games coders in the audience? 1, 2, 3?
There's none on stage.
Yeah. These things are coded to make you fail. You play Candy Crush and you say, "Oh, I nearly did that level." No, you didn't. You couldn't do that level. The code wouldn't let you. It was physically impossible. But you'll keep going and keep going and keep going until one of these days it will put enough red beans and red or green flowers to allow you to get off that level. But it changes the figure every time. So maybe it'll take you 2 days to get off that one level that's been driving you crazy. The next time it'll take you 10 days. But it's coded to make you fail and think that you failed, but it was physically impossible. And that's what I hate, is monetized games. So yeah, there you go.
So just going back to Stephen and the keyboard, when you were working at Ocean way back then, were you actually working on that keyboard? Was that the thing you typed in? Because I know, I think it was Matthew Smith, for example, wrote on an Amstrad keyboard and then fed the data into a Spectrum.
I never, ever did any graphics on the Spectrum at all. I mean, maybe I would have loved it if I'd have had a go.
But you played a lot, I guess.
No, I was Mr. C64. Sorry, guys. But can I just...
It's perfectly natural to have a hatred of it, though.
Can I just say, going back to what Simon just said, I'm actually working on a free-to-play game at the moment, Simon. By the way, have you guys seen any... Please say yes. Hello, bosses. Pay rise? No, okay. Working on a game called Sky Saga at the moment. I don't know whether you guys have seen any kind of press on that. Give that a go, because that's a free-to-play game, and yes, it's going to be monetized, but it's looking absolutely... hand on heart, looking absolutely stonking at the moment. So please give it a go. SkySaga.com. Am I allowed to plug? Well, it's too late. I've already done it. So yeah, go and have a look. It's free to play. We're going through beta at the moment. Sign yourself up and get yourself a code. It's looking fantastic. Really is.
This may be used in evidence, but is the code in there to stop you playing the game for 3 days?
What's that?
Is the code in there to stop you completing it in 3 days? Well, you can't complete it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Actually, well, watch this space about that, because there is an arc, and yeah, stuff's happening with that one. So yeah.
Okay, time for the vote then, and we will put our hands up then for Stephen's Spectrum keyboards.
Yes.
Oh, not many. There's only 4 willing to admit it, and he was a slow one as well. He was waiting to see who else did it. Next up was it Mark next? No? Yeah, it was Mark next with games that put you back a long way when you die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I agree with that one as well.
7, 8. And finally, Simon's free-to-play games. Oh, my word. Steve.
Yes! Take that, Skycraft. Oh, sorry, Mind Saga.
But, however, give it a go, please. Play it, because it's really cool.
All right,
Honest to God.
You've had your plug.
No, but, I'm proud of it. I am.
It is.
I'm proud of
it's
it.
It's one of the
proud of it.
best-looking
I know you are.
games of that ilk. It really
I'm
is.
proud of it. Oh, my God.
So, free-to-play games, Simon. We have to gently drop this into room 101.
I'll just lash it in. Who cares?
I'll put it in that corner, then the brick doesn't hit it in a minute.
Where's the camera? Philip, Andrew, I tried my best. Talking about the Oliver twins. So. There you go.
So, round 3 then, and it is Mark to go first this time. And Mark's pick this time was an item that you may be able to take home with you. It's C64 blocky graphics in the form of a brick. That is signed by all 3 people over there. And you can take this brick home with you. You didn't expect that, did you? Told you we were doing something different, didn't I?
Yeah.
C64 blocky graphics.
It's upside down. I'm quite proud to have been in the film Bedrooms to Billions, but I'm really pleased that they've got a little line from me in saying that the Commodore graphics were a bit crummy. I just remember when summer of '86, I used to go. I had a friend called Adrian Singh. He used to do all the pokes for Your Sinclair. He lived just down the road from me. And occasionally, his friend would go on holiday and lend him his Commodore 64. So I did get to see a few Commodore 64 games. I just wasn't impressed with how they looked. Those big Lego graphics made me glad that I had a Spectrum. Spectrum, you could get the detail in. You could work around the colour clash. A little bit of practice, and it was quite.
Work around the what? Sorry, what was that?
Pardon?
Colour clash, you say?
Colour clash.
Yeah, don't worry.
Absolutely.
He's asking for a very good reason.
Attribute problems, yeah, which to me they weren't problems. It was just a thing that you work around.
I don't know you.
And whereas I did sometimes think, I'd like to play that game. Perhaps a game that I played on the Commodore that wasn't on the Spectrum. But I was really glad that I chose the Spectrum. Just the pixels were square. You could get the detail in. And I just didn't like the look of those blocky.
That wonderful noise when you got anything bright on screen.
I mean, fair play, you had the SID chip, but give me the Spectrum over the Commodore any day of the week.
We might take a vote on that later as well. We'll be fighting the gap.
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay, and next up is Simon, and these are fanboys who live, breathe, comics, comic book characters, and evangelise about I forget what message you sent me, it might not be repeatable in this forum, but have a comic book character.
No, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with being passionate about something. But, it's when I say fanboys, it's the ones who say, oh, have you seen the new trailer for the new Turtles movie? It's not It's not for you, you bonehead. It's for 7-year-olds. They're not my turtles. No, they're not your turtles. Jesus, move out your mother's basement, get a fucking life, get a wash, Oh, it's these guys, the big sort of sweaty types that you see, at Comic-Con, and they're waddling around. Where the hell was I? I was in Blackpool the other day, and I saw some of the fattest Star Wars characters in my fucking life. And I thought, bloody hell, Ray's put a few pounds on since the movie, hasn't she? Dear God, she's not bothering looking for her parents. She's gone down to Burger King,
Simon Butler.
And I'm sorry, when they go, and what are we doing tonight? Oh, we're having a Lord of the Rings night. oh, it's Thursday, is it? You know, oh, Jesus, tonight. So what are we going to do next week? Oh, we're having the full Ghostbusters, duology. No, I'm sorry, but these ones, and they quote the lines. You know, I mean, we worked with Steve Weird, and God love him. I mean, he's a lovely guy. But he named one of his kids after James Kirk. You know, and
Didn't he buy a Star Trek costume?
yes.
Yeah.
And I worked with this useless ne'er-do-well, Steve Isles. And God almighty, you know, it's a phrase I use quite often, I could carve a better man out of a banana. And he named his kid a Solo, or I don't know, something Star Warsy, and I just thought, oh, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. I'm going down on for film posterity here, but oh, God Almighty, yeah, like a film, but don't fucking live it. You know, what are you doing today? I'm playing Quidditch. No, you're not. You know, I'm sorry. It just fans, yeah, fanatics. It all gets a little bit creepy, and you know. So there you go.
So you cosplaying next year then, Simon?
Oh yeah.
Mr. Freeze.
Well, that was it. No. I mean, that's it. I could have gone. The one that was at Blackpool this year. Who's the latest one? What was it? One Punch Guy, this new Japanese fella. You know, and see, everyone's gone blank. But it's this like internet thing. And there's a new comic, One Punch Guy, and this anime.
Sound like you really know your stuff. Simon.
Well, no, I'm unemployed. I have too much time on my hands. I just sit surfing the internet. And I get badgered by all these wazzocks online, you know, oh, are you Simon Butler? You know, and they're dressed, you know, thankfully they're not dressed up as me, you know. You'd have to like skin a raisin and put it on, but no. But no, fanboys, they worry me. I think that's the thing. I don't mind what they do, but it troubles me.
What's the point at which someone who wants your autograph becomes a fanboy and worries you?
No, that's not the same. Well, if they came up dressed as me, you know, if they came up, you know, and you know, and they've like shaved their heads, and they come up and they say, "Will you sign this?" And he said, "Who are you supposed? I'm you. I'm you." Oh no. Yes, it worries me.
But having said that, we did talk in the car on the way down because Simon travelled down with me today. We talked quite a bit about comics. I'm not a massive fan, but there's one you were telling me about which you
I'm
would recommend
passionate
to
about
people.
stuff, but you know, I wouldn't go out in public dressed up as the character. I'd do it in the privacy of my own home. You know, but you know, walking down to Sainsbury's dressed as Doctor Who. You know, oh no. It just puts my teeth on edge. Yeah.
You wouldn't have to walk, you'd go in the TARDIS.
I know, you would. So see? No.
We'll send K9 down for you.
I know, yeah. Fanboys.
And so finally, in this round then, we're going to look at the wonderful
Oh, here we go.
Spectrum Graphics and
Colour
Colour
Clash.
Clash.
So yeah.
Don't look away as if it's offensive.
Well, it is offensive, isn't it? I mean, come on, guys, look at that. That's pretty rough, isn't it?
I just found that on Google Images. It's the
let's
first
be frank.
one.
Let's be frank.
If you search Spectrum Graphics Colour Clash, that's the first image that I found. I don't know what game it is.
I mean, seriously,
Anyone know?
Altered Beast.
Altered Beast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah, but Altered Beast wasn't very good on the arcades, was it? I mean, it was a stinker back then.
To be fair, though, I've got to say there are a few artists in my company that I respect.
And same back at, yeah.
Including Bill Harbison as well, who's an absolute genius with the whole colour attribute thing. I mean, you could make the thing sing, but there was such a learning curve. That's just plain lazy being on a black background, all those white, horrible, like noisy, it was awful looking. At least with the Commodore you had a little bit of ability to shade things, and I used to kind of like push it a little bit further than you know, you could kind of thing. But with that, there was no kind of, I don't know, I just don't get it at all.
This young man came up with, was it 1 or 2 extra colours for depending on what TV it was going on?
Yeah, but kind of makes it look dreadful when you load them up nowadays, though. Yeah.
By stippling things on the Commodore 64.
Yeah, you do the horizontal lines thing. It's a coder trick where you kind of, yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about why you get colour clash and why games end up looking like that? Are you proficient enough in that to tell us that?
Me?
Because you were talking briefly before about a trick that you had explained to you about how to.
Oh
sort
yeah,
of
there's
get rid of it.
some trick that like one of the Oliver Twins was saying that Spectrum games kind of improved because there was some. I know I'm not a programmer, so shout me down if I got this wrong, but there's a command called XOR or something where you can kind of like have it. Am I correct? Yes. Where you can kind of like actually put black behind the sprite so it's not see-through anymore, kind of thing, and that kind of improved the game quite massively. That was a really, really big trick that the guys. But I mean, still, I'm not a fan, really. Not a fan
That was one of the
Spectrum
things
graphics.
that really I was. Because back then in the 80s, you had to pick a system. You know, your parents were buying it. They're not necessarily going to buy you both systems. I say both. There were others around at the time, but mainly the Spectrum or the Commodore.
No, I never knew anyone with
So these
more than
guys
one.
have horrified me because he said earlier on.
I'm not.
The rich kids had the Commodores. I was like mortified.
And the richer kids had the BBCs.
Oh yeah.
I'd go along with that. The really rich ones had the BBC.
Well, I never had any of them.
I had the Commodore.
I was given whatever machine I was working on. So at any given time, I'd have like all three of the 8-bit machines.
I'm forgetting you're older than us, aren't you?
I am. Oh yes. And no, I'd have whatever machine the clients would give me, and so like if I was working from home, and I often did, there'd be the Spectrum, the 64, and the Amstrad, and usually.
Oh, Amstrad. Oh God.
Well, no, you see.
Well, shouldn't that be there instead?
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a.
No,
there
it
was a
shouldn't.
theme running
It
through
shouldn't
this one,
because
wasn't
you think like Mark, your namesake, Mark Jones Senior, he could make that sing. I mean, he really could. It's horses for courses. I mean, I see where both of them are coming from, and yeah, there's offenders on all three of the 8-bit machines, and it was down to the artists. It was down to I mean, I had producers. And we'd try and do the best we could. I mean, we really, really would. And whatever system you sort of lean towards, I see what Mark is saying and I see what Steve is saying. I do. There were times when I found, the huge sort of brick-sized 64-pixel offensive.
hard to work with.
But then, and it's not brown nosing, but then I met Steve at Ocean, and I just thought, Jesus, well, he really knows what he's doing. But other people they just slap stuff down, and producers would say to me, never in Ocean, always external, Roy Gibson, another fucking useless banana, and he would actually, what are you doing? Well, I want to get this finished, and I really want to make it look. Oh, just do it. Just give it to us now. Ocean puts so many titles out, they won't notice it. Shit.
That's shocking.
And that attitude was kind of prevalent with a lot of people. Just do it. No one will notice. They're only
Especially with the
kids.
arcade conversions.
Yeah,
particularly.
and that was it. And
Which
you
is
didn't.
a shame, really, because.
Yeah, just throw it out there.
That was awful, really.
Get it done. Nowadays, I mean.
They're probably the worst to choose as well because the people get that game with an expectation already there. It's not a brand new game they don't know.
Well,
they're expecting to play that exact same game at home.
Right. Well, I remember working on Thunderbolt for the C64, which is like I know is kind of it's an awful game, but that was a big stress working on that because you've got the arcade machine. You're like, well, I'm not going to do that, so you have to kind of try and find. But
Yeah, you've got to find a happy middle ground
much,
somewhere.
So much crap out there.
I mean, I did
The
it with
arcade
Athena and
conversions.
failed miserably, and one of the reviews said it looked like it had been drawn by a blind baboon using a wax crayon. And that was one of the better reviews. That's why it's stuck in my mind.
But you're not blind, Simon.
I know. Not yet. That's why I'm the only one here wearing glasses. And you used to wear glasses, didn't you?
Lasered.
Oh, yeah. Oh, rich kid. Must have a BBC. But, yeah. Oh, I mean, we did try our best, and both machines were guilty. So, yeah, you can kind of flip a coin on that one. There was some shocking 64 games, and there was some shocking Spectrum games. And
I always used to hold in my head when I was working on stuff, somebody's going to buy this and someone's going to play this, and I almost kind of like fed into my... I used to obsess over like everything, really. Probably a bit too much, really, about it. Got OCD about it, yeah, absolutely, definitely. But like, there was so much shovelware, and I used to be embarrassed when I used to look at some of the other crap that was out there, and they were charging like, you know, kids were buying these things with their pocket money, and you're just like, you know, wrong.
That's what it was. You'd buy it with your pocket money. You'd maybe have 2 or 3
and you'd
quid
be
to spend on a
disappointed,
game,
and you know,
a Mastertronic
like,
game or something. Most of the time with me, and the stinkers really hurt.
Yeah, hated that.
My brother used to say he didn't have OCD. He called it CDO to make it alphabetical.
there you go.
But like you say, there were good games on and bad games on both systems. And there were games that maybe the C64 couldn't do as well as the Spectrum. Particularly, I'm thinking about the isometric ones. You know, the Great Escape that's running out there, something like that just doesn't really work on the 64. Should we take a little vote on the Spectrum versus C64?
Blimey. Here we go.
Okay, hands up. Who thinks the ZX Spectrum is the better of the two?
It's a 50-50.
Oh, yeah.
Are we allowed to?
I saw that one.
No.
As well.
I'm not
And hands down and hands up for the Commodore 64. That's won it already, and I've not got past halfway yet. I would agree, by the way, you are right, obviously. I've just seen the note you sent me on those, Simon, and no, we can't read that one out.
What's that one?
On Fanboys, I'll show you later.
All right.
No, we can't read that one out. So, time to vote on round 3 then. Which of these horrible things goes into room 101? So, hands up for Mark's blocky C64 graphics.
Oh, Mark. Bless.
Okay, hands down and hands up for fanboys who live, breathe, eat, sleep, dream comics, comic book characters to an obsessive level.
You've won it.
I lost count, but I know roughly how many it is. And finally, Stephen's Spectrum graphics in general. It's number 2. I think we've got a winner there.
Oh, there you go.
So, going into room 101 in this round is Simon's fanboys. Do you want to throw them in with some
No,
vigour?
no, with some vigour. Some vinegar.
Don't damage the packaging. Oh, sorry.
No, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, well done, that man.
Sorry.
I didn't mention before it was still sealed.
Yeah, I didn't even. I thought it was official, then it's not even. It's just a knockoff, isn't it?
So we've not decided yet what we're going to do with this. We were just going to auction it. Is that what we're going to do? Someone's going to take that home later, so we're going to take some audience questions, but it does say at the bottom there, good ones. As I said, we've done these a few times before now, and we've heard a lot of the same questions and answers. If you've never heard them before, you can ask away, but we're going to take some questions from the audience for our panel, any and every topic. So if you want to put your hand up, and I'll make my way over with the microphone. Yes.
Can you tell me any well-known titles you've worked on the last few years? Because I only know what we're talking about, Spectrum C64. You know, I remember Ocean, but I don't know you guys, so...
Well, I don't work on games anymore, but I did get a chance to do another Spectrum game a few years ago, where I did a game called Dingo, which was a game that Ultimate had done before they were Ultimate, when they were making arcade games. And I'd never ever thought I'd be doing another Spectrum game again, and it was really good fun. And it went down really well. It was in Retro Gamer and got good. We made some copies as well, physical copies, which they've all gone. So that was fun, but I'm not in the industry anymore.
I think my favourite game that I ever worked on was, funnily enough, a Mega Drive game. Game called Adventures of Batman and Robin, if you've ever seen that, on the Mega Drive, and that was me, John O'Brien, and a couple of other guys set up a company called Clockwork Tortoise, and we got the license for the Batman animated series game, and I'm so proud of that game, purely because we pushed the hardware to its absolute limit on that. We were doing textured polygons on the Mega Drive. We were doing all sorts of like out there stuff. Really, really proud of that one. Really, really proud. That for me is like kind of, I've got equally as soft spot for that time in my career as I have with working with these guys. As time's gone on, I think some of the stuff that you guys have talked about tonight about sort of games being very, I don't know, they look beautiful, but they've lost the soul a little bit, I think. I think anyway. And they're looking more and more polished and more beautiful, but there's something kind of like lacking. It's like, yes, enjoy me, but like don't remember me kind of thing, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, what did you just say?
I appreciate our graphics more because you'll see your little 64 by 64 sprite.
Laboured over that game. Yeah. Like, I mean, the sprites alone on that, like, I took about 4 or 5 hours each frame on those, like, really super limited palette. The limitations were just ridiculous, and to try and, again, you know, I absolutely love the Batman Animated series. That the sort of Paul Dini stuff is just absolutely fantastic kind of vision. I think the best vision of Batman, like, sort of full stop, really, out of all the Batman stuff that's been done. And to have a chance of working on that was just fantastic. So obviously we were all like really, really focused. We screwed up. We were like 9 months late on the game and missed our marketing window. But for me, that's why I'm really, really proud of that one. So if you get a chance to play, please play that because.
So which one was it?
The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Because there's a few Batman games on there.
It's not the SNES one. It's the Mega Drive one. The SNES one was made by Konami, as was Sega's own. So if you get a chance to play it. And the code to skip the level is BA down, left up C. Bad luck. So it always sticks in my head. There you go.
Did Simon answer that one?
Anyway, well done a bit too much, but
The question was recent games that I've worked on. Recent years.
Oh, and Sky Saga. Sorry, mate.
He's not sorry.
P45 printers piping up at work.
Right.
Sorry.
I'm back out my coma. It's kind of been hit and miss over the last few years. Worked on an awful lot of rubbish. One of the most rubbish things I worked on recently, God help anyone if you've pledged on a game called Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs. Anyone ever heard of the cartoon series? Yeah, that was kind of my reaction as well. German kid got in touch with me, claims he's done this, he's done that, he's done the other. I didn't give a damn really, even though I checked his CV online. It was all just smoke and mirrors because I needed the money. And it's an appalling game, and I got sacked because I was, 33 years in the industry, and I had the temerity to tell him, it would help if we had a game design before we actually start drawing stuff. No, just draw this sprite running and things like that. And people do like to see their characters. Right, okay, a little bit of theatre. And I'll ask these two to help as well. Imagine you are a sprite, you are moving across the screen this way. In which hand do you hold the weapon? Every player likes to see their character's chest, right? Oh no, because the fans dictated, because the fans are important, fanboys again. All the characters in this cartoon series are right-handed. They must all do that. So every player is going to see the character's back throughout the entire game. And I had the temerity to say, that really isn't going to work. Raus, be gone, little clue. Good old German boy. So that's one of the current ones, but the one that I actually finished, and this was another nightmare. People say I'm the common denominator, and that the industry really can't be as bad as I make out in my monthly podcast. But it is.
RetroGamingRoundup.com.
The industry is a wonderful place, and I'm very happy that I'm still there. I do find it harder to find work because I'm a 2D guy, I'm Pixel Monkey. But wherever you go, you run into these absolute tosspots. I mean, you don't have to like or understand games to be a boss, as long as you've got business acumen. Sadly, the people I run into have neither. They don't understand games and they have no business clout whatsoever. The last project that I worked on that reached completion graphically for me, the game is coming up to 2 years late, is the spin-off from Terraria called Terraria Otherworld. So that's the last thing I worked on. Start work in Holland, really good. First day, here's your PC, excellent. Nice desk, even got you the right software. So what would you like me to do? Tumbleweeds go through the office. Well, don't worry about it, we'll look at the game design. There isn't one. Oh, we don't have a game design, we have a Wikipedia. Well, let's have a look at the Wikipedia. Nothing has been touched on it for over a year. People had collected a salary and done nothing on a project for a year. That's my latest project. I had to come in, save. They didn't ask me to save it. I just came in, found out that everything was going horribly wrong, and fixed it. And they didn't like it. They didn't like the fact that I fixed it. They didn't like the fact that one of the directors who had screwed everything up, he was the producer. And so I went around the table and I said, well, you've done nothing, and you've done nothing, and you've done nothing. And he sat next to me. I said, and they've all done nothing, and it's all your fault.
It always is.
And he said, well, I don't like your attitude. And I said, well, you can sack me if you want, and I'll go right now. I said, but we can either all be grown-ups and fixes, or you can, like, spit your dummy out. So that's my most recent successful job. It's probably why I'm unemployed at the moment, but that's me. People say it's part of my irresistible charm, and other people say I'm the Antichrist.
There was a question over here somewhere. Somebody put their hand up. Who was it?
I just wanted to know how you tested these games back in the day, or if there was any testing.
You just played them.
Or if there was any testing.
Yeah, we had Ocean had games testers. Originally there was just Lee and Kane, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I think, and then Rocky, and then after I'd left, there was loads of them, wasn't there?
Yeah, we had an entire. We had a room called Arcade Alley, where we had, surprisingly enough, arcade machines. These were the machines that we had to test, or to play through, to see the games, to then convert to the various computers. And in that room, we had the games testers, and they would play the games. And I think they kind of set the precedent for what a games tester does today. You just do everything wrong. You don't just, people think, it must be a great job playing games. That's not what you do. You know, if not that I've worked on a couple of polygonal games, but if you've developed FIFA, the latest FIFA title, you don't sit playing, trying to score goals. You just play to see if you can kick the ball out of the stadium. And if you can, then there's something wrong with the code. If you can actually kick the polygons off or the textures off one of the other players, you know something's going wrong. So it's a boring, tedious job. I mean, some of the play testers, even back in the day, when they'd been playing Pang or New Zealand Story for 20 hours straight,
It's impressive, isn't it?
and you just look at them and they have this look that says, kill me now. They never want to see New Zealand Story ever again. So it sounds like a great job, but it is painfully tedious.
Run into that wall 1,000 times.
Yeah, that's the only thing. It's like, it's a case of, so what's the main object in the game? To go from here to there. So the first thing you do is try to go from here to there. And if you can, then you've broken the game. And that was it. And you'd hear it all the time. The game's crashed. And while the coder didn't want to hear that, it meant that the games tester had done his job successfully.
The games testers, they also tested the games that came back as faulty. And I think the rule was if they couldn't get it to go wrong, they'd send it back.
Yeah.
Like 90% of the time it didn't come back a bit, but if it came back again, then the game would be binned. But they'd have to sit there. Somebody, you'd write a letter and go, I'm playing Knight Rider on the Spectrum or something like that. I mean, imagine having to test something like that and try and get it to do what it does in the letter.
Yeah, they have to duplicate that exact error. The guy got stuck in the top left hand of the screen. So you had to go to the top, not working, and then all of a sudden it does it. And you go, yeah, he was right. It's not just some kid trying to get a free game.
Because that's it. I mean, it might have sounded good if somebody, what's your job? Yeah, I play games for a living. But not only did they have to test the games as they were being written, but they had to replay all the there was a lot, like I said, like we all know, probably 1986, there was a lot of rubbish coming out from Ocean because they didn't have the staff in-house to release the games that they wanted to release. So they farmed out a lot of stuff to out-of-house places. And that's why we were brought in, because Gary Bracey had to get it all in-house to stop that Street Hawk, Knight Rider, Miami Vice type thing happening over again. But to have to play test, to have been a play tester in 1986 would have been the worst job, because they were rubbish. I'm going to work and having to play them games every day from 9 till 5 o'clock, mind-numbing. So
I've got every admiration for anybody that does any kind of QA kind of job, because really you're given something to test and you have to, like you say, test it to destruction. That must be, you've got to be really, really focused and dedicated to do that. So I'll take my hats off to them. And actually, QA, for me, I think is like one of the most important links in the chain, really, as well, because, especially today, games are so complicated. If the QA is wrong, then people are just...
9 times out of 10, they weren't recording it either. They didn't all have, there weren't banks of VHS. VHS recorders. They were just doing it, and maybe another one of the monkeys would be sat behind them with a pen and paper, just waiting to write something down. And someone would say, "Yeah, are you going for a cigarette?" "Yeah, I might." "It's broken." What? And that was it. It'd freeze at that one point. You turned away, so they'd have to do the whole thing again. And sometimes,
And they'd have to play the game from start to finish.
And they were playing them through the night.
Yeah,
and, we're talking the 80s, so they're all sat there with it, and the Spectrums are all squealing away while things are loaded.
Because they have to wait for them to load as well.
It's not like...
minutes.
At least they got a nice loading screen though, Mark.
And some nice music on the Commodore 64.
Yeah. But that was it. That's the only way you could do it, was play it till it broke. And if it didn't break, then...
Release it.
Yeah. Any other
Any
questions?
more questions?
So Ocean released a lot of games that were versions from well-known movies. Did you enjoy working on these games, or more working on original idea games?
My favourite Ocean game I worked on was Untouchables. Like, really got, again, a soft spot for that game, purely because, I don't know, it was kind of something a little bit different. It was a period piece. It was set in the 20s, and there was a chance to get a little bit of style in there, sort of do a bit of research on that period in time with architecture and stuff. It was brilliant. Really, really enjoyed that, and we really put a lot of kind of effort into that one. That was the one that I was kind of most proud of, sort of working at Ocean for, really. RoboCop we kind of churned out really quite quickly. RoboCop, that was my first.
Well, wasn't RoboCop just? RoboCop was really just a conversion from the arcade.
It was really, yeah. But again, that was what my first sort of job was, to sort of work through that, and I wasn't in there from the beginning. It was like literally get it done. But Untouchables got a really, really soft spot for that. That was, I think, the first game that had different kinds of games in it. I think there was 5 different sort of games apart from the what they call the Olympic games that are out there. You know, we had a lot of different things that you could do, but Untouchables, there was 5 different sort of games that we sort of had in there. But it was originally going to be a lot bigger.
I think Combat School did that first.
Oh, Combat School did it first, sorry. But yeah.
Which I did on the Commodore 64.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
With
sorry.
high-res overlays on the sprites.
So anyway, yeah, Untouchables was the second game that had. I mean, that game was going to be a lot bigger as well. We had plans to do a lot more with that game, but again, you know, we were all really, really fired up about doing it, and we did some concept art as well, which was kind of like a little bit unheard of, really. We did some paintings. I remember doing some paintings, and yeah, it was really, really involved. Like, really, really sort of enjoyed that one.
We were talking about that game earlier because you had to take the likeness out of it.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Kevin Costner wasn't Kevin Costner. Where we were told, I remember at the 11th hour, I did all avatars of all of the sort of characters in the game and kind of copied them all. Sort of, you know, really, really made an effort to sort of copy them all and get them in. And then Gary came through and said, you can't use those likenesses. And if Kevin Costner sees his likeness, there's going to be trouble, kind of thing. And the game was at the 11th hour. If you ever play the game on disc, the level 3 and 4, level 3 and 4, sorry guys, level 3, I can't count. Two levels, sorry. The 2 loading screens in the middle, level 3 and 4, there you go. Oh, done it. Hey, I think count. Level 3 and 4. It's just literally got Kevin Costner's face on both of them, and like it just went right the way through QA. No one even picked up on it, and you know, you can play it today, kind of thing. And he never, like, no one picked up on it. Phew.
But Ocean went. I mean, in-house, you had no chance of doing original product, none at all. You did what you were told. We knew from very early days. I mean, I'd worked in the industry. I can't even remember what year. Let's say I started in '83, and I'd worked freelance for Denton's and Imagine, and then started doing freelance work for Ocean. And I did original product, but well, it wasn't really original. It was a license. It was Never-Ending Story, which then became Hunchback the Adventure, and then we did an original title, Batman the Adventure, which was never released, using the same engine. But once you were in house at Ocean, you knew you would be working on arcade conversions or movie licenses. It was as simple as that. Original product was done out of house because they didn't make money on original product. They made their money on the licensed titles, especially the movie titles, because the movie studios did the marketing for you. They didn't do it intentionally. It was just, you know, there'd be posters everywhere, and the kids would say, oh, and there's a game of that. So they knew. So we had no choice in the matter. We did as we
completely different to the previous generation. I interviewed Rob Zadibble, the Atari programmer.
Yeah.
And he said they had a notice board at the end of the office, and marketing would come in and write game titles down and wait for people to pick them up and do that game. And he said the one that was always there was Rock Fight. But if you ask someone in marketing, what's Rock Fight? Well, I don't know, go make it. And so anyone who didn't have a game idea to make had to do whatever was on the board. So it made them more creative just to avoid having to make Rock Fight.
Well, that was it. I mean, was it you? Was it on the way down? I was telling someone today. One day I was just visiting Denton Designs, and I was just sat doodling, and I drew. Yeah, and I drew this amphibian character, and I put some kind of body armor on him and a ray gun in his hand, in his flipper. And the next thing, the door opened, and David Ward, you know, the boss guy of Ocean, walks in, and you know, I'd seen him before, so it didn't bother me. And David and I kind of all not similar ages, but same age group, so it didn't, you know, I wasn't in awe. And so he came in to see whatever Denton's were doing, and then he said, what's that? And I went, it's a cosmic war toad. And he said, do you have a game design for that? I said, yes, we do. Lying through my teeth. And he said, well, we'll have that. And so he walked out the room to sign a contract, just based on a drawing. that we then had to come up with a game design for. And I mean, that's how it was done I mean, I was saying earlier on as well, they were more creative days back then. They really were than they are now. God help anyone working in one of the AAA studios, you know, working on Assassin's Creed or whatever, because, you know, they might think, oh, Assassin's Creed is a franchise, you know, we're EA or whoever they are, Ubi. He said, you know, and we're safe. No one's safe. Sony Liverpool closed after what, 25 years? They just closed the door like that. You're only, I mean, I said to someone today, you're only as good as your last game. And it's true. You are only as good as
the big recent one we mentioned was Disney as well.
Yeah, Disney canning Infinity this week.
That's crazy.
You know, Lionhead closing.
I was a big shock, I thought.
You know, I'll say no more than that. You know, but then you can put Molyneux on that. Carve a better man out of a banana list as well. You know, what a waste of fucking space. You know, I'm terribly sorry. He's got the brains of a fucking garden ornament. the king of broken promises. But you are only as good as your last game. And Fable, you know, I mean, I tried to love it. I wanted to love it. But any game that has, you know, like big friggin' blue arrows pointing to show you where to go means that it's badly designed. If you can get lost in a level, it doesn't mean it's intricate and detailed. It means it's too intricate and too detailed, and it's not obvious what you should be doing or where you should be going. And so people think, oh yeah, games are amazing now. Games were amazing then. We churned stuff out. Yeah, that was part of the bad side of things as well. We churned too many out. And as Mark and Steve and I have said, you know, on many an occasion, there was a lot of dross. And as I've always said, an awful lot of it was mine. But there was. But now, you've just got less to choose from. You know, there's like a couple of shooty games and a couple of football games and a couple of race games. And that's why I go down the indie road. There's more variety. This current generation has never been more exciting. That's why I said you guys should be supporting these new developers rather than wasting your time playing something that you've not completed for 20 years. You know, if you haven't completed it in 20 years, then there's a pretty good chance you're not going to complete it.
So I think the resurgence in, because there's going to be, or there is at the moment, a resurgence in VR, and that opens up loads of really cool stuff.
Well, it's been 10 years again, hasn't it? So.
Yeah.
It's back
I
round
think
again.
it'll stick this time, and there's a lot of, I reckon there's going to be some amazing stuff come out of that, you know? Indie developer kind of twists on that kind of thing. There's going to be some really, really cool stuff.
Is he going to get a foothold, though?
Don't know. Who knows? Who knows?
Anything that's an add-on, really.
I've actually gone on record several times, not being backward to be forward.
In your monthly podcast, Simon,
as saying, I see VR as this generation's Nintendo Power Glove. I don't know. I could well be wrong this time. I mean, they do seem to be. The world and his dog seems to be very excited about it, but. I do think it's kind of sad. You know, there are times when I'm sat there on my own and I think, God, you're 60 next year. When are you going to grow up? You know, you sad, pathetic old man. But if I was sat with a pair of... on my own, I just think...
Careful where you put them hands.
And you just think, is there anyone else in the room with me? Has someone come in? Have my kids come in? And are they laughing at me behind my back? Look, and I'm going, oh, it's big, oh. Yeah, no, sorry, no, Power Glove.
So, Mark, about 15 minutes ago, there was a movie tie-in question. Did you...
Oh, well, I worked on a couple of sort of original-ish games, a couple of films, and a couple of coin-op conversions. So... I quite like doing the film ones because we got paid to go down to London and see films before they were out. Total Recall. I saw Total Recall down in Soho in London. You know, and it was, I was only 18.
The first one.
First one.
and it was, you know, special. None of my schoolmates had a job.
And you were one of the youngest at Ocean at this time,
When I
so
started,
it must have been
I
even
was
better
16,
for you.
So, yeah, but to be paid to go down to London and see a film
In a special viewing room in Soho.
with about 12 seats.
Yeah. Yeah, not that kind of special. But you know, you'd go in and you'd walk into Universal Studios office and they'd usher you into a room. And I remember sitting, this one's gone on record as well. I remember sitting there. There was about 2 other people in the room. And I was watching Platoon, and you're seeing people's brains splattering everywhere. And I'm thinking, and I've got to make a game for 10-year-old boys out of this who aren't even going to see the movie. You know, because it wasn't the fact that, you know, people weren't going to pirate it. They did, you know, pirated movies didn't really exist much outside of our room and Alan Short. And it was a challenge. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was great to be sent down to London. It was great seeing movies a year or 2 before your mates and going back and saying, oh, we've just seen RoboCop. And people saying, what's that? Oh, it's a film you might get to see in 18 months. You know, and yeah, that was cool. But then when you had to do a game and it just came down to all the rules that the studio put on you. You can't have your hero, I mean, a lot of them, you can't have the hero die. You know, and you think, okay. And, you know, and then stupid things like, why doesn't it look like Bruce Willis? Because the head is 8 pixels by 6. You know. Yeah, it was...
Luxury, that is.
Yeah, luxury. Yeah, luxury. But that was the industry, and if you didn't like it, you got out. But no, I don't know many people that ever got fed up and walked away. They got fed up in the fullness of time when they kind of grew up and grew away from such childish things, but we haven't.
No. Couple more questions then before we auction off a brick, apparently.
Do you remember the MSX computer? What this system means to you at the time?
The MSX?
Yeah. How you manage to convert the games instead of make a custom design for this computer? I mean, to use the graphic capabilities of this computer.
Instead, the MSX?
Yeah,
MSX
instead of converting the Spectrum game to MSX.
If it was just ported across, then the coders would just do it via code. I never actually created graphics on the MSX, to the best of my knowledge.
It's quite similar to the Spectrum, I think.
But then again, I could be wrong. I mean, is there?
Yeah. Wasn't that made? MSX one was made by Sony. There was a few manufacturers.
Yeah, it was just.
There were different versions of it. There was the 1 and 2.
It
no
just
one at
depends.
Ocean did an MSX game in-house.
No, Ocean didn't do MSX stuff. I mean, I only did BBC at Imagine. But it just depended. I mean, if, you know, the way I converted stuff was, when I did Neverending Story, the Commodore 64 version was done. And so I could load up the graphics. And I would have 64 here and Spectrum of the Amstrad. Now, the Amstrad was kind of okay because I could almost copy the 64 pixel for pixel because the pixels were roughly rectangular. But with the Spectrum, you couldn't. And you obviously couldn't, you know, with the colour clash, you couldn't do that. So I kind of had to draw stuff that was vaguely similar. And that's how you did. I mean, the reason that I've got so many games on my CV, and you know, there's 300 individual titles, but it's not even gone into every single version, you know, because there's at least 100, maybe 200 titles if you're taking the mobile phone versions of games, where I would do 5 or 6 versions of every single game, depending on the resolution of the screen. So you'd have what you drew on one screen, and you'd try and draw it again. And 9 times out of 10, it just got worse and worse and worse, and smaller, depending on what you were working on. You know, so I've worked on things where it was almost like working on, you know, on your watch, you know, digital watch, and so that's what you do. You try and copy pixel for pixel, and if it had color, I mean, I even did something on the PC back in what was it, CGA days, in those, was it 3 colors? Yeah, that was fun. What were the colors like? Puce, vomit, green, and
Pink,
and invisible. You know, well, that was it. You know, people used to, and the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, that was a bag of laughs. It was like, people would say, well, you've got 4 colours, yeah, but one of them's transparent. One of them. So the first colour, you know, what's the first colour called? The first colour's invisible.
Yeah. And then 4 shades of spinach.
Yeah. So that was it. But you know, for every advance we've made, it's kind of stepped back a bit at times. Like, even though, you know, polygons came along, and so, we're moving away. Because if you think about it, really, you had your 16-bit games, you had your Amiga and your ST, and some of those games look absolutely amazing. Then all of a sudden, let's be brutally honest, you had Lara Croft.
Oh, yeah.
And she wasn't even as attractive as a blow-up doll. I mean, you know, there was like, I don't know,
I've seen some good ones.
you know, the polygons were in single figures almost, and she was horrendous, but it swept the globe. It really, really did. I mean, I'm trying to do stuff in vectors now, and that presents itself with a whole different load of problems. But it's very similar to pixel animation. Albeit, whereas I had to draw every frame, now I can actually sort of draw the bits, put it together like a puppet, and move stuff. So converting stuff from one machine to another it's a lot of problems, but it's getting easier. It was a nightmare in the day, but not so much now.
Another question? There was a couple around here.
Yeah, I'm just curious what software you guys used back in the day to make the graphics on the older systems, and then what software do you use today when you make 2D games, for example?
I used to use a program called VidCom64 to do a lot of my sort of, because everything's like character based, and you had to build things up out of like sort of, we only had a finite amount of characters, and then you build your levels out of those. I used to sort of edit the character map and then sort of have a second bit where I could sort of assemble the levels. But it was all very, very basic, and it was all kind of like, I mean, rattling on about the Spectrum keyboard, I've got seriously, my tendons are wrecked through doing the C64 cursor kind of shift, up, down, and I can do it in my sleep, like kind of like move the cursor around the screen. And that was all it was, just like I used to use a keyboard and just very, very basic programs, really. We had an in-house... Shorthead.
Yeah, Alan Short.
Which actually was all right.
Yeah, there was a programmer, Alan Short, sadly.
Fudhead was the ST one, wasn't it?
Oh, wasn't it, yeah? Alan Short, sadly not with us anymore. Great coder. He took, the koala pad? Yeah. I mean, we had K-Paint, and you know, if you use the stylus, it kind of you'd put it in the bottom left-hand corner, and the cursor. After a few months, the cursor, you'd look at it on screen, it'd be like dancing around in the top right somewhere. It would never do what you wanted. And Alan said, "Oh, what do you suggest?" And I said, "Well, how's about if we could fudge around so we could use a joystick?" And that was it. And so Alan went in and screwed around with it, totally illegal, but we had K-Paint working with joystick, and it was really, really good. But he wrote his own editor, and it handled tiles, and his animator was fantastic. And he even tweaked it later on so that while you were drawing in big clunky 64, because Alan was a 64 coder, while you were drawing in 64 pixels, you could actually overlay high-res overlays on top. And it was genius. But Mark and I on the Spectrum, we used Artist.
For loading screens and stuff, it was like, you had to really, if you had Artist 2 and Art Studio, then each of them had something that the other one would do better. So if you use them and you'd swap between the two. But then, I mean, before I started Ocean, I'd never animated a sprite at all. I'd done sort of rudimentary animations. I did this thing in VU 3D, which was, I'd seen iRobot, the arcade machine, and there was a program called VU 3D where you could like do shaded graphics on the Spectrum. So I did this head, and it was just animating, but all that was doing was flipping one screen on top of another, so it wasn't really animating like a sprite. So the first sprite that I had to do was I was converting the whizball from the Commodore 64 to the Spectrum. So that was the very first sprite that I animated. But they had an in-house version of they've got Melbourne Draw, which was a program that you could go and buy, but it was just a screen designer. And then two programmers at Ocean, Jonathan Smith and Paul Owens, had added themselves, so you could animate sprites, so you could take bits from the screen, put them into memory, and then flip them over on top of each other. And then once Mike Lamb was doing Renegade, and he needed a map editor, so he got hold of that, and he added there was an extra version that then had a map editor on it. So basically, we pirated Melbourne Draw, and then the programmers added things on it themselves that were used in-house at Ocean.
I mean, a lot of the time, depending on what coder you worked with, what projects you were working on, what kind of game it was, side-scrolling, vertical scrolling, text adventure, whatever, they'd look or think, what's the game going to be? And then they'd say, right, give me a week or so. And then they would write an editor specifically for you for that project, which was really cool, but it was also a pain in the ass because every project you moved on to, you had to learn another editor, and they'd never use the same keys. So, you know, it's like, oh, okay, so for this game, I've got to get my hand in. I've got to break this finger to get over there, you know. And they change it every damn time. So after a while, Alan Short stepped in, and he came up with the sort of in-house 64 one. Yeah, and it was amazing. It really, really was.
Okay, I think it's maybe auction time then. Oh, another question? I'm being pointed at. Go on, shout. I'm not coming all the way over there.
As artists, most of the artists that I've worked with in the games industry over the years have all told me they have a point in their career where they have that moment of just leave the money on the dresser and go, I'm getting in the shower, I just feel so dirty. I've fallen myself out now. At what point in your careers did you reach that point, and what project was it on?
Where we felt we'd prostituted ourselves enough, and
I wasn't in the industry long enough for that to happen to me, so.
So you still feel dirty?
Now he's looking forward to it.
I did. I after my time at Ocean, I moved to the States and worked for a company called Acme Interactive, and they did a lot of sports conversions. I'd never seen a baseball game or an American football game, and I was doing graphics for them, and like I suppose that was just like, I mean, I just wasn't interested in that at all. So I suppose that was the equivalent of kind of like feeling sort of, I just didn't care, basically. It was just, yeah, whatever, just like kind of sunshine, California, come on, I didn't care. So, but yeah, that was the equivalent for me anyway, so.
I've worked on so many games that I really don't give a damn about. That I don't feel that way at all. That to me, the industry, my tenure in the industry, I've had some glory days, I've had some absolutely fine days, but most of it is producing rubbish that I would never play in a million years. But it's part and parcel of what I do. So I don't judge what I'm drawing, really. I mean, I had to draw the fat slags having sex in the Viz game, right? But
that's an honour.
I know. And, you know, and Buster Gonad
I'd
wheeling
be-
his testicles
what?
around in a wheelbarrow.
I'd be honoured.
And try and make sure that my children didn't see it when they walked into the room while I was drawing. So there's too much on my CV that I should be thoroughly ashamed of. You know, an awful lot of people would say, God, you actually lowered yourself to, I mean, you did this and you did that. And I say, well, yeah, I've paid my mortgage off. What about you? Yeah.
That's right.
It's a job. See, I think it was, I think the first and last time I came to this realization was when I was with these guys in Wolverhampton. It was the first time I'd seen Steve, when was Wolverhampton? 3 years ago?
3 years, yeah.
So it was, I'd not seen him for what? About 20 odd years, 25 years, something like that. And I was sat in front of a crowd of people like yourself, right? Maybe, you know, after this, it'd be a good place to finish. But when we were in the industry, we never realized it was a job. We didn't think of it as a job. We went into Ocean Software every single day and had the time of our lives. We really did. It was an adventure. It was a room filled with brainless monkeys, because that's what we were. We were a bunch of kids.
Hungover.
Brainless. We were having the best time in our lives.
Yeah.
The guys who saw it as a job were 2 floors up, wearing the suits. If they'd come down to us at any given point and said, Ocean has closed, we would have been sad, but we wouldn't have been distraught. We would have just gone. Because we never saw it as a job. It was something cool. It was something fun. No slur on you guys. We seldom, if ever, gave any thought that there was a public out there waiting for what we did. We met deadlines. We did what we were asked. We put games out. We read reviews. We thoroughly enjoyed what we did. It was amazing. We never for an instant thought that we'd be doing it over. I mean, strictly speaking, you know, my father's generation, they did 25 years in a job and they retired. I've done 33 and I'm not even thinking about retiring. I'm thinking of moving into the next phase of my career and going independent. But it's only meeting you guys at these kind of events that we realize that what we did had some kind of resonance over the years. And all we can say is thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's look at who is the overall winningest. So round 1 was won by Mark.
Thanks.
Round 2 was won by Simon.
Thank you very much.
And round 3 was also won by Simon, making him our winner of the Ocean Room 101. So please join me in thanking Mr. Mark Jones Jr., Stephen Thompson, and our winner, Simon Butler.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And as you can see there, the museum is open till late. So go and play all these games and even the MSX that we've been listening about tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.